Just want to say before the show starts, The Troy Show is a listener discretion advised show. We're fair, we're balanced here, everyone gets a voice. We can't quite control exactly what that voice is going to be, so please keep that in mind as you listen to the show. Any business or organization mentioned on the show is not a sponsor of The Troy Show, nor is it affiliated unless otherwise stated. The Troy Show is not an official representation of the city of Troy, Ohio, USA, or the government thereof. This is Troy on Air. Well, the big question right now is, do we vote tomorrow? Do we not vote tomorrow? To vote or not to vote tomorrow? Do we have an election to vote on tomorrow? Are we going to have to watch more Ducek versus Reese arguments? Are we going to have to see more of that in our news feed? That's the big question, which we are going to answer tonight here on The Troy Show. As this all unfolds, a late night recording of it, I wanted to get around to some call-ins, but the reality is we're just not there yet. We are ready to roll out our call-in segment right here on The Troy Show. If you want to get in touch with us, just visit at Beautiful Troy Show on Facebook. That's facebook.com/Beautiful Troy Show. If you want to get in our group where you can take the discussion even further, that is facebook.com/groups/Troy, Ohio citizens. And of course, if you want to reach out directly to us here on the show, the most direct way you can, other than calling in live once we roll that out in next week's episode, as we are going to do our first live show next Monday. I'm recording this Monday, technically Tuesday now. It's just the news has been so explosive tonight that I thought about going to bed, and then I started to see the shift of tomorrow's elections. I could not go to bed on that note. I had to know, and I figured, well, I got to get something out this week. Right now, we're promoting the show, making sure everyone knows about it, and that way they can call in. But if you do want to do that, the call-in line next week, 937-552-3484, 552-3484. But this is something that you need to do now in the 937. You need to put 937 in front of the other numbers when you dial on the phone now. If you don't do that, the call won't work. They're rolling out some new stuff here in the 937 area code. I want to say we're getting a new area code. It's been like this since from what I was reading on sometime in the 90s. It's been 937 the 23 years I've been here. I don't really look at numbers anymore. We've got them all on our contacts list. Speed dial, you don't even use that anymore. But 937-552-3484, give you a little bit of a heads up for when we do the call-in. So if there's anything interesting you hear on the show tonight, which, in my humble opinion, is going to be all of it, we'll I don't know, I'm stuttering now. It's 12 in the morning. But if you do want to reach out to us, that is the number, heads up. And, of course, at beautifultroyshow@gmail.com. It's where you can send it directly to us. I've got a stack of papers over here that we got to get to tonight as this all unfolds. And we're going to figure out exactly what's going on for your polling and elections tomorrow. But we are doing our part here at the Troy Show to counteract COVID-19, a.k.a. the coronavirus. We've got our Lysol. Kills 99.9% of viruses and bacteria, but I do believe if you read on this can a little bit closer, it does not kill coronaviruses or forms of it. We've got our precious bottled water, toilet paper. These were about $80 a roll. Okay, I had to go out. I had to storm through the masses. I found this one stashed away somewhere. We've got about 4 of those rolls, so I put all my money into toilet paper at the moment. Clorox wipes. We've got back here 91% isopropyl alcohol, and, of course, apocalyptic snacks. Salsa con queso from Poppin' Off here in downtown Troy, and another one of my favorites is Cincy chili cheese from Poppin' Off down here in Troy. So they are still open, I believe. To my knowledge, from what they posted, they are open for carry-out, and you can still go in there and get your favorite little snacks. I got in there just a few days before the decree went out to shut down. It's a very eerie scene here in Troy. This is the first time I think that I have seen something as eerie as this come to a smaller city like this. We, of course, had the tornado earlier this year in January. I believe that was on the 16th, if I'm not mistaken, the EF0. Take that at face value, but it was a tornado according to the National Weather Service. But that's the first time I've really gone to Walmart and seen a national issue affecting us right here in Troy in the 23 years I've been here. That's the first time I've seen something like that. You read about these huge Black Friday things, these events where people are storming places on Black Friday, all these other store-related things. That's the first time I've gotten to witness that. We went there about 10:30 last night, 10:30 p.m., 30 minutes before Walmart closed. This is the first time in my life I've ever looked at someone and asked, what time does Walmart close tonight? But I went there and I cleared out some USB cables, stockpiled on them. We don't know how long I'm going to be stuck in my house, so I figured I might as well get some equipment to keep me going for a while. So we do have all of our COVID-19. As you saw in the promotional video for the show, we were disinfecting the studio. It's clean in here. We've got the board wiped down, the microphone wiped down, and we're drinking lemon and ginger water. Hopefully that'll work. All right, so let's go ahead and, first I want to talk a little bit about the premise of this show. I think that would be fair. I want to set some things up this week. That way people have an idea of what to expect in the coming weeks of the show as we proceed forward. My goal here is to set up a public access forum. Okay, it's not taxpayer funded. It's just a self-funded project that I'm endeavoring on. I found that there was a lack of a place, not intentional, but I did find that there was a lack of a place for people, citizens of Troy, to go to really be heard. I mean, it's been my observation that there's kind of two sections of Troy. There is your downtown area, all respectable people, and then there's your not downtown area, also respectable people, and that's the goal of the show. There's over 25,000 people population in Troy, Ohio, not to mention the countless people who have family maybe overseas or in a different state that also maybe follow news groups from Troy still, just to see what's going on. Troy is kind of unique in that sense. We're 20 minutes from a lot of things. We're a central hub. We've got a state route running through us, all these different things. If you go 20 minutes south, all these places that you can go. It's a great little hub, a lot of great little places to work here in Troy, eat at. It's been very much so expanding rapidly over the last 4 years. More so than I've ever seen. And then just being honest, I've not seen huge amounts of growth until the last 4 years of my eyes observing the city. But these are my opinions, okay? This show is a vessel for the citizens of Troy. These are only my opinions. To make something interesting or to have people listen, you've got to be a little bit thought-provoking. You have to maybe steer people in a different direction they never thought of before, or maybe come up with an idea or a point that they hadn't thought of yet. And then it's up to you, the citizen or the listener, to call in. And this is something really cool that we're going to be doing here on the show, because I don't want it to just be me babbling on forever. There's many citizens and many viewpoints in this city, and they all need to be heard. So there's two really cool things that we've done here. The first one is on this show, what we're going to do is feature, I want to say, about a 15-minute call-in segment, okay? And that is going to be your chance as the citizen to call in live on the show, uninterrupted, uncensored, and unmuted. The only thing I'm going to do is, of course, answer the call, greet myself, introduce myself. You can introduce yourself to everyone, who you are, maybe what you want to talk about, and then I'm going to start the timer, and we're going to have you go from there. You get 1 minute guaranteed. I'm not going to say a word. Trust me, I'm not going to say a word. I'm not going to interrupt you. If I do interrupt you, this is part of the guarantee. If for some reason you get interrupted, call gets dropped, you manage to get back in, you will get a restart, a redo on that minute. So if there's anything you want to broadcast out, if there's a plethora of ideas and viewpoints and visions or how things are affecting you here in Troy, Ohio, specifically broadening out to Miami County, let us know. Call in. It's yours to do what you will with. It's a public access style of show without the tax dollars. There's so much that we can do with the internet today, and there's so much that can go overlooked in local governments sometimes. So that's kind of the goal of the show. So that's the first really cool thing we're going to be doing. The second really cool thing is we already have a network of places now that you can go as a citizen to voice your opinion with other citizens. Over 200 members now in our Troy, Ohio Citizens 2.0 group. Only the originals will understand the 2.0. If you're new to this whole group idea where citizens can get together and converse ideas, it's a wonderful place to be. All you have to do is click join. You hop right in the group. You hop right into the midst of the discussion. You know, for 23 years, I've been in this city, and I've felt disconnected. Anyone you interacted with, it was just overtly positive stuff or overtly negative stuff. There was no blend. There was no balance. There was no two sides. And it just felt like if you took a stance that you were going to get shut out of the mainstream. But I discovered that these groups are becoming a popular thing, and I wanted to do my part to truly make something special, truly make something unique that's uncensored. This is totally an endeavor of the citizens. You know, just maintaining the group, making sure it doesn't get taken down because that's our only rules over there. And as the weeks go on, I'll explain those a little bit more here on the show. They're pretty well laid out in the group. We've redefined them a little bit, reworded so that you can get a better understanding of them. But that is what we're aiming to do in the group. I'm just there to make sure that the group doesn't get taken down because of Facebook terms of service, anything illegal in nature, doxing, which is simply when you share private information, not publicly available, can't do a public records request or whatever you'll define it as. But that's like the 3 rules. You can't get shut out for your opinion, how you talk, how you express yourself. Obviously things like physical threats of violence, things that become illegal in nature. That's the only thing. Other than that, the floor is yours. The discussion is yours. And there's over, again, like I said, 200 and growing very rapidly. The first day we got swarmed, my whole day was just, pulling my phone out of my pocket. Someone else has joined. And it was a very exciting first day for the group. We put it up there. We wanted to actually do this thing right. I've seen some small groups try and do this, and they just get lost in the drama of it. And so everyone has a voice to be heard. And you have that chance at Troy, Ohio Citizens 2.0. Join the group. It takes 5 seconds. Click it. You'll get approved as long as you live in the city, work in the city, have any interest in the city. We don't care. You're all welcome there to state your opinions. So those are the really 2 cool things we're doing. We're developing a network of platforms where you can get heard. In fact, the Troy, Ohio government is in our group, the page. So if you've got something to say, the Troy, Ohio government follows and is in the group. More than welcome to be there, too. We'd love to have them there. We'd love to have that relationship with them because that tells me that the citizens' voices are going to get heard at the end of the day, or seen, I should say. You'll get heard on this show if you call in 937-552-3484. Once again, but slow in case you're driving. Have you ever been going down the road and, they're just blabbering the phone number out to whatever show you're listening to on the radio? Let's do it nice and slow for anyone driving right now. I try and make the number as easy to remember in your head. So here we go now. Say it with me. 937-552-3484. 3484. There you go. We'll be using that next week for the call-in show. Look forward to it. That's a little synopsis of what we're trying to accomplish here, and we have had just a great outpouring of response here. Our Troy Show page is going very strong in the likes right now, and our Troy Show official Troy Show group, Troy, Ohio Citizens 2.0. Join in over there, tell a friend, get them involved. Okay, this is your chance to have people hear your voice and discuss it. No one with an agenda is going to disrupt you. No one's going to tell you what you can and can't say about the city. We all live here. That's the truth of the matter. Sometimes things are negative and sometimes things are positive. We live here through the good and the bad because unique situations drive us to live here. There's reasons we live in Troy. Your reasons are just as important as anyone else's. So let's break it down. Let's get into the big issue of the night. This was breaking just a little while ago, and it's been going on now for the day. Well, this really started when the schools started to close. Once people started to see that the coronavirus, the COVID-19, was headed our way across the pond. Of course, we all know this started off in China and has now reached our shores. The last number that I heard today across the nation, and I try not to focus too much on national news on this show. That's another point of this show. You know, there's 26, almost 20, let's be real, almost 26,000 people in this area now living here. Okay. How many times do you turn on the news every day, or you hear people talk about Washington or something on a national level, or these political celebrities? You know, I feel like sometimes maybe we take a little too much time focusing on national news and totally forgetting that we have local news that needs a voice, that needs reported. And I think if we focused a little bit on that, it'd be a little bit better for us. So anyway, as far as the national news goes, about 60 to 70 deaths. Again, we all know this is unfortunately appears to affect the elderly more so than other folks. But we only have 60, 70 across the nation out of a nation of 350 million people. And I know a lot of people are panicking right now because of the situation in Italy and China. You have to look at your own country, and you have to think in those terms of maybe why it spreads differently in other countries than it would here. A lot of people believe that it's what's yet to come is what we're seeing over there. A lot of people believe the worst is behind us and we need to get back out there. A lot of people are under the impression the warm weather will eventually wipe this out. Some people are thinking this could go on into the fall timeline. All of these are theories at this point. Anything anyone's doing is a theory at this point. So we have to take that with a grain of salt. Coming from the Troy Daily News, I've got an article right here, freshly printed out and freshly highlighted. Which, by the way, I want to give a huge shout out to the Troy Daily News. We all know that the print side of it, the physical paper, is not what it once used to be. But that doesn't mean what they're doing is any less important than it once was. If you catch my drift, they've started to transition themselves into a digital age at the Troy Daily News, and thank God for the Troy Daily News. Because who else would be out there reporting this stuff? I think you've got a couple that I follow. I forget the name of it. Miami Valley Daily or something like that. Piqua has one. Sydney still has a paper. Thank God for these institutions that are still there. A lot of people may say they're a little bit biased. That's everyone's opinion. Not everyone's opinion. Everyone has an opinion on that. But I just wanted to give a shout out to them just for the fact that they are still putting news out there in a digital form now. And you can, if you want to get a physical copy, and eat this in the morning with your breakfast, or not eat the paper, but eat your cereal and read the paper technically, you can do it without having to lose yourself in all the odd folds of a newspaper. That shows my age, I guess. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this from the Troy Daily News. It was first reported earlier that Mike DeWine was kind of on the fence about this right now, and that we had the lawsuit pending, and that the judge in Franklin County is who we were waiting on. And once we got a ruling from him, we all thought we were going to wake up bright and early at around 6:30 a.m., go to the polls throughout the day. People would trickle into the polls and begin voting. They were going to put measures into place for sanitizer, and that they were still going to have plenty of staff for the polls, even though some of them wouldn't show up, just due to the statistics of the poll workers tend to be of the elderly age, and they did not want to expose them to that, which makes completely a lot of sense in my head. But DeWine said he understood the impact on small businesses and steps that would be taken to mitigate the suffering based on everything he's been doing. Because you got to remember, this all started with the school closing, and then he transitioned into the restaurant closing, which is what this statement reflects here. DeWine said he understood the impact on small businesses and steps would be taken to mitigate suffering. So then I pull over another article from the Troy Daily News here to try and track this whole thing. So to track this whole ordeal of DeWine's effect here on Troy, Ohio, and the Miami County, we've got to start at the source. And the source really was him closing the bars and the restaurants, which went out last night. That was the order sent out. And no one's really sure if these are suggestions or laws or what these are. But in fear of whatever could happen or possible legal repercussions and fear of the coronavirus, the COVID-19, everyone seems to be following suit. So here we have, again, from the Troy Daily News, from the Columbus, Ohio Associated Press. Ohio's governor wants the state to delay in-person voting for the state's Tuesday presidential primary for 3 months to let the coronavirus outbreak subside, but Florida, Illinois, and Arizona plan to push ahead. We seem to be one of a few states that is adamant on doing everything possible, closing everything possible, and going even beyond closing stuff that you wouldn't think is possible to close. That seems to be Mike DeWine's curve. So he wanted to close all the bars and the restaurants. So DeWine says he understands the impact on small businesses. That seems to be where the disagreement is with most people. That seems to be the two sides. Does he understand or does he not understand? That we will find out in the coming weeks of just the impact. Right now, I feel like he's got it. He's got it in a place where he can bring the economy back. Because if you really wanted, let's think about it. Let's look at this. If you wanted to stop this whole coronavirus, just lock everyone down. The whole state. Lock the borders of the state down. Lock it all down. Only essential personnel like hospitals that would specifically deal with the coronavirus. Everything else, lock it down, dig into the pockets, and pay out for everyone to just sit at home for 4 weeks, and we'll just sit at this. I happen to feel that Americans, the reason why we thrive in situations like this is because we have the spirit to get up, get out of bed, go to work, and make something of this. You know, if we ever took a moment to stop and realize how many things are in this world that could affect us, the world would be canceled permanently. So he's got it at a place where he can just bring it back at the snap of a finger here, which I guess he can just do that. We're all finding that out very quickly. So that's the argument I'm seeing with most people. Does he understand the impact of what's this going to do? Because a lot of people are saying, well, the coronavirus is one thing. That's spreading. We're probably not going to be able to stop it completely. In fact, we're not going to be able to stop it completely. The damage is done. It's a virus. It's a new thing, and we're going to learn how to cope with this new thing in our world. And then you have the other side of the camp that wants him to shut everything down. Be interesting. It says, what we've done this week is drastic action, but we're taking these steps to save lives. DeWine tweeted, it is unclear when bars and restaurants will reopen, with DeWine saying it will be in effect as long as it needs to. There's been it seems to be with DeWine, anything he says is turning into truth. Come hell or high water, come Franklin judge or not. He said it's unclear when the bars and restaurants will be reopen, but that'll be in effect as long as it needs to be. I think people maybe would have been a little bit more calm if he would have put we'll reassess date on it, but he's just kind of leaving it indefinite. We'll see after a week of this what I think right now the business owners and people at the moment that are affected by these shutdowns are just kind of holding on for a couple days, playing some PR out of this, doing some damage control, switching around, seeing what they can do to get the deliveries and carry out formula to work for their business. But they might get sick of this after a week and just say, I can't continue. My business is going to, have financial struggles if we keep doing this. It'll be a disaster for us. Or they might keep going for as long as DeWine wants to keep going. It's going to be very hard for this to be policed, but there is that ever looming threat of, licenses and permits being lost due to going against the state's mandate here, or suggestion, which, let's be honest, it's the state. So, suggestion. All right, moving on through the article here, it says, the data clearly shows that more people will die if we delay, is what DeWine is saying here. If they delay, more people will die. Well, like I was saying earlier, that's the second part to the camps here, the two camps. If we just get up and go to work, people will die, but not as many people will be affected from job loss, financial loss, struggles. How are you supposed to quarantine people like this and close everything and then take their jobs from them on top of that? So I see that side of the camp. Now, a lot of people are saying that the damage will be far worse if we let Corona go and we stay at our jobs and we go out of the house. but no one knows which one's worse. This is all data analytics. It could sway anything. It's almost the equivalent of the weatherman in Ohio. We all know how that goes. So you have very disgruntled people that are like, well, yeah, it sucks, but I can't stop living life because there's a threat out there. And you got other people saying, well, we got to stop because it'll kill so many more people. It'll spread and it will wipe out the country. That would have to be the train of thought, right? On that side of the camp, that the country will suffer a drastic loss because of this. I know it's hard to comprehend numbers as humans when we hear big numbers like thousands, or sometimes it's just how people say it. Thousands of people are dying, or millions, or trillions, or billions. And it just comes a point where our mind can't comprehend these numbers. And especially when you start to think these are actually people dying, or being infected, or sick. It is a tough thought to swallow, to comprehend. But that is the reality of the world sometimes. So those are your two camps of thought right there. But DeWine is adamant, so he's pushing on. So then we go to Lieutenant Governor John Husted said an executive order would be signed to enable workers who do not have paid leave benefits to access unemployment compensation during the emergency. So that would try to mitigate people's job loss. They would be able to file for some emergency unemployment. Other steps would help bar and restaurant owners return liquor purchased for holiday or sporting events, and to allow businesses and nonprofits help through disaster loans, he said. That's the big thing, because we all know what tomorrow is. Well, technically today is of this recording and of the release of this recording. It's St. Patrick's Day. I got my green on. I pulled the old the shirt I wear once a year out of the closet, put it on, and I won't wear this again until next St. Patrick's Day. But this is my St. Patrick's Day green shirt. I believe I wore it. I don't know if I wore it last year. I think I wore it in 2017 and 2018. I can't keep track. I don't wash it. No, it's a lucky shirt. I don't wash the thing. So it's probably got about 4 years of St. Patrick's Day on here. I kid. It gets washed. But I was thinking about that. So we got St. Patrick's Day coming up tomorrow, so that's a big bar day. But where would that day be the biggest? In Troy, Ohio, when you think about it. Well, right down the road here. Dunaway's Beef and Ale, Irish pub in Troy. One of my favorites. Great food and everything. Great time. From what the owner there was telling me, it's like thousands of people event, 3,000 throughout the day. And when they first broke the news of this, the train of thought was, well, it's 100 people banned, so maybe that won't affect St. Patrick's Day too much. They can kind of shuffle people outside and inside. And I was thinking that's probably what bars are going to do. And then as soon as this order came out, I thought, man, you couldn't have done this at a worse time. But they knew St. Patrick's Day was coming up, so they want to prevent the spread of corona. So now these big parties, these big money makers, and that's a huge money maker. That's a lot of alcohol that's going to be sold, a lot of food that's going to be sold throughout the day. Sometimes with businesses, that's what holds them through is big events like that. So I got to thinking about that. So, I haven't checked in what they plan to do or other bars down here plan to do that serve food. I would assume they're all going to follow suit with however they can with the carry out and delivery. But now is a time to really shop local because of this. Now is really a time to shop local because of this. I am a big market guy. I like to shop wherever gives me the best deal, best product. It don't bother me really. If Amazon's got something better, Amazon's got something better. The big things I focus on are my produce and my meats. I source that local and try and get fresher ingredients and better quality meats and things like that. Your honeys, your milks, whatever. But for me, I just go where the deal is best. I don't really get too bogged down on I have to shop local even if I take a hit. But here is a time, if you are not someone who is a big local shopper, I would recommend, and this is coming from someone who's not a huge local shopper. I do a lot of my stuff in Troy, and don't take me wrong. I just don't go completely out of my way every single day. But now is a time to support them because these people's livelihoods are just, no matter what your stance is on this whole shutdown thing, you definitely need to get out and support your local businesses. I highly recommend it. I highly encourage it. However they're offering carry-out or delivery, get out there and support them because the usual people who would support them might be at home self-quarantining themselves because they don't want to go out in this, or they're just not out there to sit down. They don't want to go through the carry-out process. Maybe they've hoarded a lot of food at Walmart, and they're just cooking on their own. So go out and support them. I mean, they really do need your help right now. This is a time that I do give the official stamp of approval. Shop local. Get out there and support these people that have had just a sudden impact like this. I mean, this is probably the most devastating thing a business could come across, and it's very interesting to me that this is a state mandate against private businesses like this. But anyway, John Husted said an executive order would be signed to enable workers who do not have paid leave benefits to access unemployment and alcohol return for holiday and sporting events and whatnot. So many local restaurants were sharing their plans to comply with DeWine's mandate via social media on Saturday. I've seen a lot of these posts, and this is leading me into a little bit of a story here. I've seen a lot of these posts on social media of everyone talking about what their plans are, how they're going to deal with the COVID-19. I haven't seen really anyone fighting this. Everyone's just kind of rolled over. Yeah, it's coronavirus. We don't want any part of this, okay? We want to comply. We want to get this done. We want to get these next 3 or 4 challenging weeks over with. Assuming it's only 3 or 4 weeks, makes sense to me. Makes your life easy. But an interesting story came out of Loretta's Kitchen as I was scrolling through my Facebook feed. And I have here underneath the stack of papers here. Nope, that's not it. Just printed this one off. It's down here. I mean, this has been just unfolding all day, and keeping up with all this has been quite the fascinating endeavor. But we're going to break it down, bring it to you here. All right, so this is 12 East Pike Street in Christiansburg, Ohio. It's about 10 miles from us. I want to say it's the one out 55, out past Castown a ways. I want to say that's it, is Loretta's. I've always seen it packed. I used to drive out that way in the morning a lot, and real early morning. It's a small community out there. There's not a lot of people. It's probably a lot of farmers and people who have business out in that area who eat there. Maybe can't cook for themselves, and more an elderly population that likes to eat out more than cook for themselves. So this was handed down, this order, and we kind of have a little bit of a timeline to track here. Apparently, a Facebook post was sent out, but it was not apparently by the ownership. But keep in mind, this is a small business, so I'm not exactly sure who made the post, but they are claiming it was not representative of their stance, it was not representative of them, and that it's not an accurate depiction of what happened. But it did get into the hands of our very own Steve Baker of WHIO, and it got out there. I believe the post has since been removed from his page, but once something's out there, it's out there. It's public domain now, and we're going to talk about it. So, they came out with a post. I don't know if I have the image here. Let me just bring it up. Yeah, I got it right. That's where I put it. So Steve Baker from WHIO yesterday at 8:43 p.m. put out interesting reaction to closing of restaurants from the owner of a popular eatery in Christiansburg in Champaign County, Loretta's Country Kitchen. The post reads from Loretta's Country Kitchen and was apparently posted 2 hours before Steve Baker got to it, so approximately 6:43 p.m. Loretta's restaurant will be open regular hours tomorrow despite DeWine's fascist decree that we are ordered to close. DeWine is not paying the bills, and I've not heard that martial law has been imposed. So where is this authority of his coming from? See you at Loretta's Country Kitchen. Takeout also available. I sincerely thank all of you who have shared this post, thanking people for the interaction, for sharing their viewpoint. Well, then it comes out, and they make a post here, that it was not representative of them, that they did not want that out there, that they had contacted and reached out to WHIO and told them that this was not, in fact, their stance, that they did not believe this, that this was not representative of their business, and again has been removed. But then on their page, If you go there, at least as of the recording right now, it's still up. I mean, not that specific post. That one was taken down. But the viewpoints reflective of the harsher language that was in that post, originally spread around the loop, is still there. It goes on their page, and this is something you can look up, assuming it's there tomorrow. But I'm sure people have plenty of screenshots now. I have some. When I want to report on something, I don't want to lose it. So it says here, we are open with a full menu for carryout. We also have gift certificates, as if now they are complying with the order or suggestion from the state. The Ohio Department of Health, this is another post they have up. The Ohio Department of Health is more than capable of notifying all business owners with a food service license, and that has simply not happened. Until it does, I will be open. And this seems to be spoken from the third person, or the first person, I should say. So it's coming from an individual. It's not representative. It's not a we. This is a small town community. This is a small place. It's Loretta's Kitchen. Good food. The customers have the choice to come or not, as well as my staff. How about all of the people rushing to the grocery stores? That's an excellent point, by the way. If your whole idea is to not get people to congregate, you might not want to cause a mass panic in small communities like this. Because, I could tell from going there at 10:30 last night here at the Troy Walmart off West Main Street, and this was after I had seen the photos flood in from Sydney, the Walmart, of the cereal aisles being completely wiped out. Those big bags, those big bulk bags, completely gone. Well, that's when I figured out this was as bad as the news had been reporting. That's the first time I'd really gone out of the house to actually look and see this in person. We've got a great video of it up on Troy, Ohio Citizens 2.0. If you go join the group over there, you can see the video. I went there with myself and another moderator from the page who works here in Troy, and we decided to go over there because I needed some supplies, nothing food-related, just stuff that wouldn't be wiped out. But I said, you know what, let's fire it up. Let's go ahead and get the live stream going. Let's take a look at what's going on. Let's go tell the citizens. That's the point of the page, is when you see something in Troy, get it out there. And we looked, and it was as devastating as could be. The entire back section of the Troy Walmart, and you can see this clear as day in the video as we walk around. It's about a 10 or 15-minute video. The entire back section of the Troy Walmart's shelf, the produce, was not hit too hard. There was one section that was wiped out of produce. For some reason, people weren't buying the veggies. You would think, but those will go bad unless you can them. It's probably the best idea right now is to make some jerky and canned goods. But the canned goods section was wiped out. The entire back wall that housed the meat, your cheese, your dairy, your eggs, things like that, wiped out. They were restocking the eggs. There was not one jug of milk in the store. And when you peered through the back of the milk section, because they have that refrigerated section behind it. That's where they store all their extra milk that they put on the shelves as the deliveries come in. Gone. Wiped out. There was nothing you could see clean through. That's the first time I've seen that ever. Every once in a while you go to grab a gallon of milk, and there's some guy sticking another one in there, and just it's a weird encounter. Anyway, so you've got just a mass panic. No store is prepped for this. No store stocks like this. And people really think, oh, the stores are out. The supply chain's gone. I got to go out and get my milk and my eggs and my bread, all things that will relatively expire within a week. And by then, you've got to think they'll be restocked. I used to haul milk. And when I was hauling milk, the giant tanker, 60,000 pounds of milk in the back. That equals about, I want to say, 6,500 gallons, combination vehicle. So I would haul this milk. I'd go pick up at a farm. I'd go inside. They've got these big bulk tankers at these farms full of milk, and the milk rate's not going to change. These cows produce like cows. That you can't change other than slowly altering over time and testing little things out. But it would take a very long, significant amount of time to change the production of milk. And a lot of these places where you deliver at have silos. It's all set in place. They can't just add another silo to increase it. And milk expires relatively quickly. So you don't really have to worry about that because you can't buy 10 gallons of milk. So it wasn't that was happening. And if it was, well, then that's a waste of money. It was just the stores got overwhelmed in one day. And while an eerie sight, and you can see all of it in the Troy, Ohio Citizens 2.0 group if you join. We've got that live stream we did up there. We did a little quick live stream going down 41, just seeing how the restaurants were stacking. It was a Sunday night, so it was not really representative of normal business hours, but it was still a very eerie feeling. But they had it all wiped out back there. But let me get back to this little nugget, this little story here. So it says here the customers have the choice to come or not, as well as my staff. How about all the people rushing to the grocery store? You don't want people getting sick going to the grocery store like that. That's just a convergence of people. You ban 100 people from gathering, but then you tell them we're going to be shutting everything down and stores are adjusting their hours and there's no place you can't eat out. Or if you can, it's going to be limited carryout options, and then people start freaking out and they panic, and now they're going and congregating in a group of 100 people in local little stores like this. There's only so much you can do at the end of the day, and I get they're trying to do everything that they can. But he goes on to say they are not too many people congregating. I believe what he meant to say is that not too many people congregating. I only seat 60 people, and that is totally full of seats. All in caps, let freedom ring, # freedom of choice. I can see his point there. It's very valid. Though the initial thing was, all right, if we ban gatherings of 100 people, religious exemption, and we should be fine. So a little store like this, small business, anyone that gets over 100 in their seating, probably part of a bigger business, and they can handle the hit if they have to ban gatherings of people like that. So they thought they were in the clear. It says, we are a small business. I am the social media spokesperson. I cannot afford to pay for someone to manage my PR. To reiterate, small business. And that was in response to some people that have, unfortunately, and I think unfairly invaded their Facebook page at Loretta's Country Kitchen. I'm not endorsing them. I haven't personally ate there. I've passed it. I've seen that they're very busy in the mornings. And it's a small community out there. All those things I can verify. I can't endorse them, but I would encourage you to go over there and see this for yourself. Loretta's Country Kitchen. Maybe when they get back up and running, go eat there for yourself, or possibly get some carry out, because we'll get around to what's going on there. It says here again in another post, and these are all separate posts that I've been reading or comments dug up on their page, which are there for the public to see. It says, we will be open for normal business hours until we are officially notified by the health department or CDC, which you would think that's the chain of command. If the state really has the power to do this, if DeWine, who I believe has admitted he doesn't really have the power to do these things, but they're happening anyway because people fear the retaliation of the state. It says we will be open for normal business, notified officially for the health department or CDC. And in a separate post, it says there is a post that has made it into the hands of Steve Baker from WHO claiming to be by the business owner. That is not our post. So that's where this all took a turn. It says there is a post that has made it into the hands of Steve Baker from WHO claiming to be by the business owner. This is not our post. So maybe there's a family member that runs their page. Again, they've made this very clear, small business. But there it says here, we are a small business. I am the social media spokesperson. I cannot afford to pay for someone to manage my PR. To reiterate, small business. So there's a disconnect here, because this post, the one that states he's the PR manager, and the one that states that Steve Baker from WHIO got a copy of this, is currently available on their page. The one I originally read you, where it's the fascist decree that DeWine sent out, is the wording they use. That one's the one that got taken down, that got into the hands of WHIO. They're claiming to be the business owner, but it's not. I don't remember reading in there, unless I missed something here, of where it claims that that's the business owner. There's no claim there, unless it was made in the comments. I only have a screenshot of the actual post. It says, Loretta's restaurant will be open regular hours tomorrow, despite DeWine's fascist decree that we are ordered to close. DeWine is not paying the bills, and I have not heard that martial law has been imposed, so where is this authority of his coming from? See you at Loretta's Country Kitchen. Takeout also available. I sincerely thank all of you who have shared this post. Nowhere in there does it claim to be a business owner, so you would think it's the same social media person, and I don't know how many they have with a small business. I could see some family members having a little bit of a disruption, dispute of political ideas and leanings, and maybe they had some people managing it, and that's where this all stemmed from. But it doesn't make sense because they didn't take down all these posts. I mean, they are still reflecting the thoughts of this with just less harsher wording. But it does look like there was a post made, and this is kind of where this whole story ends and comes full circle. About 18 hours ago, we got a post that says, "My stand is over. I got the email from the governor through the virus of workman's compensation." I don't know if he means workman's compensation is a virus, or he got the email from the governor regarding the virus through workman's compensation department. I'm not sure. I want to say he's probably leaning, but I'm not going to put words in his mouth. So that's just how it's worded. Email from the governor through the virus of workman's compensation. Carry out only. No details on that or anything. So that was made 18 hours ago. And then 16 hours ago, we get we are open with a full menu for carryout. We also have gift certificates. And you can go over there and see a lot of people are responding pretty negatively to this. Telling them that they should be on board with this, that they should be closing it. But you have to, there's another perspective to this, and I'm not saying this is the correct perspective. I'm just trying to give both sides of the story here. That is a small community. Like they said, they only sit 60 people. That's probably their maximum occupancy. They only sit 60 people, so it don't really matter if they're open. And it's of an older crowd, and farmers and whatnot tend to be pretty healthy people. Home-cooked food. So there you have it. That's the drama unfolding out in Christiansburg, Ohio, at the little country kitchen of Loretta's. So I just thought that was a little interesting side note. But let's talk about some of the other restaurants that are closing right here in Troy and surrounding areas. On Facebook, Buffalo Wings and Rings, which has a Piqua location on East Ash Street, said they closed Sunday in the best interest of our families, our team, and the residents of Ohio per the governor's order. Most people seem to view this as an order. Some people view it as a suggestion. That is in the eye of the beholder. That is not for a humble radio host like myself to determine. But I don't eat at Buffalo Wild Wings and Rings. I'm a Frickers guy, Roosters kind of guy. Those are my top two go-to wings. So there you go. And by the way, if there's a story you want to weigh in on, the email is beautifultroyshow@gmail.com. That's beautifultroyshow@email.com. Send me your perspective. We might just read it out here on the show. Due to the flooding of emails that we're going to get regarding topics or people wanting to voice their opinion, I'm not going to be able to read every single email on the show. That is why we do have this plethora of networks that you can interact with to get your voice immediately out there into the citizens of Troy's phones and their social media networking, is by just going to the Troy, Ohio Citizens 2.0 group, joining there, and hopping right into the action. And you can post your thoughts there. We'd love to hear from you here on the show as well. I want to hear directly from you, and I want to get as many of those thoughts in an audible form pushed out over the online airwaves to the Troy community. So beautifultroyshow@gmail.com or facebook.com/groups/Troy, Ohio Citizens is where you can join there and get in on the discussion. So if you want to weigh in on this Loretta's Country Kitchen debacle out there in Christiansburg, and I wish them all the best, and I would love to hear from you on that matter. Moving on. So we understand the concern and increased awareness regarding health and safety. Our stores have elevated their cleaning procedures, and we are taking every precaution to ensure we comply with the guidelines recommended by the World Health Organization, Centers for Disease Control, and State Department of Health. Buffalo Wings and Rings also posted plans to stay open and provide carry-out options, saying, your local Buffalo Wings and Rings will be available for carry-out, curbside pickup, and third-party delivery until further notice. One of our favorites here, by the way, today, I keep getting this confused. I shouldn't record in the AM hours. This is what happens. The digital clock gets thrown off in my brain. Tomorrow is taco today. Tomorrow, today, tomato, taco, whatever you want to say. But it is Taco Tuesday. So if you're an El Sombrero fan, the restaurant out there at 1700 North County Road 25A remains open daily from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. for carry-out orders, according to Judy Rose, business manager. She said the restaurant also has bottled drinks to sell. You know, that's the one Mexican restaurant I haven't hit in the city yet. I've gotten to the sit-down of La Fiesta, the La Fiesta Express, one of my favorite places to grab some quick tacos on the go. They got that great $5 3-taco deal going on Taco Tuesday tomorrow. That's probably where I'll be headed because they got a drive-through outfitted, ready to go. They're already ready for carry-out, okay? Tacos are the perfect option tomorrow. Grab yourself some tacos, and these places are ready and prepped for carry-out. I've been to the one on the other side of town. I can never pronounce it correctly over there in the Buffalo Wild Rings Plaza. And that's a pretty decent one. I've not been to El Sombrero. I've never stopped in there. I don't know. I go up and down 25A all the time, but I just never stop in there. But they are going to be open tomorrow. She said during the mandated closures, they will work hard to continue to have their employees work. And that's coming from Judy Rose. Friends to the north up in Piqua on Facebook, 311 Draft House in Piqua said they were taking Monday to evaluate what we will be able to provide in the coming weeks, of course, which we don't know what's going to happen in the coming weeks. But Tom Elliott, owner of 311 Draft House, said later on Monday they will be offering a limited takeout order menu and seeing how that goes for the foreseeable future. And DeWine's just wondering what's going to happen. He's just seeing how that goes for this foreseeable future as well. It says, we at 311 Draft House want to thank all of our local patrons. They posted on Facebook. Back down here in Troy, in the downtown area, right over here, Basil's on Market in Troy. And that's a fun experience over there by Basil's. Go check them out once all this gets back up and running. Even through this time, they have probably some of my favorite fries in Troy. I can't help but discuss when I get on the topic of restaurants, my dishes that I love there and enjoy. I really do try and get out. That's one thing I'm wholeheartedly a believer in is shopping local when it comes to your restaurants. And constantly getting new restaurants into the city. The city has made a great effort at expanding those recently and our options there. And I love when a food place comes into the downtown. Okay, that is a great use of space. Give me all the food possible downtown. So Basil's on Market in Troy posted they will be closed to all in-house seating, of course, due to the mandatory closing, but they plan to offer carry-out options starting Tuesday. They will update times and menu items as that information becomes available. We're still trying to figure out this whole voting, not voting thing tomorrow. Today, we'll get that figured out. Alrighty, here, let's see. It says, on Monday, Carrie Williamson of Three Joe's Pizzeria in Trattoria, I believe, in Piqua, said their entire menu is available for carry-out. Entire menu available for carry-out. Williamson said that they have moved some of the dining staff to the kitchen, but it is unclear if the restaurant, like many others, will be able to keep their staff on at the levels they had them previously before the mandated closure. We're just trying to gauge how long we can keep our staff on, Williamson said. They open at 11 a.m. Monday through Saturday and noon on Sundays, but Williamson said they are also gauging when they will close. Currently, they plan to close at 8 p.m. That's pretty much all the news that there is on the restaurant closures here right now. I mean, just pretty much expect the rinse and repeat for everyone. Those are just like the top 5 that I was able to find here, something along those lines. That's pretty much it. What else is there to say on the mandate? What can you do? So it's all carry out from here on out. Okay, so let's move on to the election now. Now we've got the backstory here. DeWine's shut all this down. We've been feeling the effects of that for a while now. Let's move on through the stack of this. Once again, coming from Troy Daily News and out of the Columbus, Ohio Associated Press. So Ohio governor wants the state to delay in-person voting for the state's Tuesday presidential primary for 3 months to let the coronavirus outbreak subside. But Florida, Illinois, and Arizona plan to push ahead. So again, we're like one of the lone rangers in this whole debate of the coronavirus, of the states are concerned. West Virginia, by the way, I don't know if you've seen down there, they're doing just fine. They have like no cases, no illness or anything. That might be the move. If you test negative for corona, head to West Virginia and let the country roads take you home on that one. But Governor Mike DeWine told a news conference Monday that he does not have the power to order the change, but some affected voters will file a lawsuit asking a judge to order it, given the danger they would face if they went to the polls. He wants the new in-person date set for Tuesday, June 2nd. So that's what we originally heard. All right, Mike DeWine's floating the June 2nd thing. I have no idea how he has the power to do this, but seems to be anything Mike DeWine's been saying lately. He's been throwing out there just to float it to us, see how the people react, give us a heads up, a warning, let people ease into it, and then he comes out with the official statement. So we just kind of assume this is going to happen. But then the rumors became that we're waiting on a Franklin County judge here in Ohio to figure out the situation. It says here we should not force them to make that choice, DeWine said. Absentee balloting would continue during the interim. Georgia already postponed next week's primary, and Louisiana has postponed its scheduled April 4th primary. It's important that voters who have already submitted their vote by mail or in person know that their vote will be counted, LaRose said. And that is our the Secretary of State, Frank LaRose, I believe. Florida, Illinois, Arizona governor's offices said Monday morning they were pushing forward with Tuesday's voting, even though they are losing polling sites and workers. This is unprecedented, so it's not clear exactly what the process would be for changing it, though it likely would involve a request to the Attorney General to seek a court order. So that's what we're waiting on, a court order here in Franklin County, Ohio. Catherine Terser, Director of Common Cause Ohio, praised DeWine's decision. There's been a lot of running around and trying to make changes and coming up with solutions, and none of them quite work to keep everyone safe. You need to really think outside the box, and moving the election is really thinking outside the box. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head on that one, lady. You definitely did. I don't understand that one. Moving the voting is not thinking outside the box. I mean, well, it is. It's thinking outside of the box of normal. We can't not vote. This is going to affect a lot of stuff, and everyone knows we're going to have to continue the process. The candidates are going to continue to have to fight long past what they strategically planned for in the first place. In fact, this might be a show of just how your candidate is in situations like this. It could turn out to be a good thing, but I don't think so. I think this is only going to cause what has happened in years past, where things get lost in the mix, and you throw all of these new things on the voting right the night before the voting commences. That is crazy in my eyes. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Again, beautifultroyshow@gmail.com. Next week, we're going to do call-ins if you want to come back and hit the point again after we see how this plays out the next week. Again, the phone number for that is 937-552-3484 is how you can interact with us there. So I think that is really absurd. We're going to see a lot of pressure on the campaigns, pressure on the voters' decisions, and these guys did not plan to campaign this long, but I guarantee you we will be seeing plenty of new content from your candidates regarding the matter. They're just going to go into overdrive mode, is what I would hope from them, and just comment and tell us how they would handle these situations. But I think it just allows too much going on with the Miami County Board of Elections, and they've shown a distrust with the communities and the citizens. It's not a good move. Of course, this isn't the Miami County Board of Elections doing this, but this is what it's going to cause across the state, and we've already had enough of these issues in our small town communities here. So yeah, that is thinking outside the box. That's a good one. Now, she said pushing off the election raises some new concerns. It's a last-minute decision. It's chaotic, she said. There is the need to provide full and adequate information to voters regarding the new date, but we all know how that goes. You know how long it takes to get information to the voters, to get their minds made up, to make sure they hear about your name, to get this to them, to remind them of the date to go vote. It's just drilled into our heads. Early voting, go vote, get out and vote. And now you're changing the date, and they got to start that whole year's process over and get it done in 3 months and remind these people when to vote. And a lot of people maybe just will lose faith and give up or forget, or their circumstances will be different. It's pushed into summer now. People have more vacations. This was on the heels of spring break. This is a very, like she said here, and she nailed it again with another genius quote, it's chaotic. Yes, it is. And that's the last thing we need with the distrust that we've had in our voting cycles. See, voting is the one place where you, the citizen, myself, anyone else, people in government can go out and vote and voice their opinion. This is the one thing that we have, and it's being turned into a chaotic clown circus because of this coronavirus. It was originally reported that they were going to have a lot of sanitizer and things like that on hand to deal with the situation. So then now we get to the appeal, to the Franklin County judge's decision here. It says, with an appeal still pending, the Miami County Board of Elections announced Monday evening that they were planning for the in-person primary election will go on as planned on Tuesday. Polls will open at 6:30 a.m. through 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday. The Board of Elections staff made the announcement on social media that stated the election tomorrow is still on as of 8:45 p.m. Please stay tuned to local news and our page, but plan for an election. Plan for an election. And this was like bedtime for a lot of people. The majority of the voting bloc is going to be going to bed at this time. This was put out right before everyone went to bed. We're all like, okay, good. The polling's on. The decision came in last minute. Perfect. We're good to go. Each polling location, here it is, will have sanitizer, cleaning materials, instructions to wipe down, and any and all common surfaces throughout the day. And I really think this would have worked because people have been so panicked right now. And as everyone thinks they can just catch this thing and they'll just keel over and die. A lot of people have actually been fighting it and recovering from it. Our numbers are very low here in the States. I understand the panic and the concern. Do not get me wrong there for a minute. So I think this would have worked. I think this would have been fine to protect the integrity of our voting systems. But this just allows more stuff for people to, 6,000 ballots. An Ohio judge rejected a request late Monday to postpone the state's primary amid concerns about the coronavirus outbreak, but it was not clear if that would be the final word hours before polls were scheduled to open. I just want to interject again. I think it was very clear. Let's not, again, I just told you before I started the show, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at my phone and I see breaking news. The judge rejects it. Sigh of relief comes out. Okay, we can go vote tomorrow. We can get this over with. We can get the primaries out of the way so we don't have this constant clash amongst our own parties in the city. And things can calm down a little bit. But no, I'm sitting there a couple of minutes later. I want to say it was like a half hour to an hour later, and I'm looking at my phone, and I noticed that WHIO had gone live, and it's breaking news. The Ohio Health Director, whatever her position is, has decided that she's just going to say, screw it to the judge, and we're going to proceed as planned. We're canceling the polls until June 2nd. We're canceling the election until June 2nd. I don't know how they did that. They just did. So now everyone's confused. So people were clear at the time. Everyone was posting this across all the groups that I'm in here in Troy and across the Miami County scene. Everyone was posting in accordance with this judge's ruling. Because what's higher than a judge? When a judge rules, that's final. National or local, what we've seen for the last 3 or 4 years is that these judges' rulings are final. That's always been where people want their argument to end up, is in the court. But apparently now that's just being ignored. Probably with no repercussions, but we'll see what happens. And now everyone's in a chaotic thing. They don't know whether to wake up tomorrow or forget waking up tomorrow, to go or to not. They'll probably put it out of their heads. And it'll just be a chaotic news cycle of press from here. And we're going to try and stick with it and keep you updated on the Troy Show page and in the Troy, Ohio Citizens 2.0 group and get that information out. We have a lot of wonderful citizens in there who are very active in the group, and they post a lot of good information for you. Fellow citizens trying to figure this out with you. So Judge Richard Fry ruled against a motion backed by Governor Mike DeWine and Secretary of State Frank LaRose, who earlier had backed an effort to push in-person voting back to June 2nd to avoid crowds at polling places. I've never really had a crowd around here. And I say that kind of sad. I mean, I would like there to be a line at the polling place. I would love for a 100% turnout of voters, instead of the typical 1,000, 3,000 a year, fluctuating numbers of pretty small. It usually hangs around the 20 to 25% voter turnout. A fourth of all the people who have a voice in this city, only a fourth of them use it. And that's personal preference. Some people don't believe in voting. I'm not here to try and convince them of that. I'm just saying it would be nice to get a higher voter turnout, but I've never seen lines. I'm not expecting here. What their concern is, of course, big cities, metropolitan areas, things like that. I mean, they really should look at this population base. They could have rolled this out a little bit more specific instead of plunging it into a chaotic situation and rolling out a chaotic plan with not a lot of thought, same-day decisions. I know they're trying to stay ahead of a virus that spreads very quickly. That makes sense. But here we are, chaotic night before election, and we already have a lot of distrust here in Miami County Board of Elections, so we'll see how this is handled. The 11th hour maneuvering was causing confusion. Now, that I agree with. Some candidates had already brought suits aimed at keeping the election on track, but boards of elections had begun alerting poll workers they could stay home before Fry ruled. So even before the ruling came in, they were already subverting this. They were already allowing them to go home and stay at home. And some of these people might have been told, hey, we've got enough workers for tomorrow. Go ahead and stay home. Or they might have been being told, we're not doing this thing tomorrow. Everyone stay home. That I don't know. I wasn't there for that. Says, I'm very reluctant to undermine state election law and say, well, we'll have a judge in Columbus rewrite the election code, reset the election for some arbitrary date in the future, and upset the apple cart in a terrible precedent, Fry said during a hearing on the request. Not absolute 100% right there. Fry suggested DeWine should have used his power to reconvene the legislature to change the law instead through the proper process. Ohio Supreme Court spokesman Ed Miller said that the court was watching late Monday for a possible appeal. There is a lot of confusion, said Aaron Sellers, a spokesman for the Franklin County Board of Elections in Columbus. Neither DeWine nor LaRose, both Republicans, has the power to postpone an election on his own understanding Ohio law. They laminated Fry's ruling in a statement underscoring that they had acted out of concern for older voters, health, and federal guidelines that have recommended against gatherings of groups of 50 or more. That's also been a number that's been tossed around 50 or 100 at this point. The only thing more important than a free and fair election is the health and safety of Ohioans. The statement read, logistically, under these extraordinary circumstances, it is simply isn't impossible to hold an election tomorrow that will be considered legitimate by Ohioans. They mustn't be forced to choose between their health and exercising their constitutional rights. Well, that's where we're at. I mean, as of this time tonight, that is the consensus. We're subverting this ruling. Franklin County judge has no power across the state now. We just didn't even need to get in contact with him, I guess. We probably should have just announced this morning. We do what we want anyway. Restaurants closed, bars closed, libraries closed. Walmart's actually got hours on the door. Not used to that. It's just crazy. And they did this right before bed. I know it's probably an all-day process going through the courts and through the proper... But, I mean, if they wanted to make this such a long process, they should have just gone through the legislature. People are still going to show up and vote tomorrow despite this COVID-19 outbreak. I understand their point. This is not going to be a legitimate election. Well, either way they go here, no matter how they handle this, they're going to come out of this with people saying that they've rigged this or that they've planned this or that this played perfectly into their hands. This virus happening to pop up at the same time played perfectly in their hands. No matter what side you're on, someone's going to say that, and you know it, and I know it. You might as well just have this thing go on at the date, and that would have been the most maximum turnout that you could get, I think. Delaying this thing now confuses more people. They forget about the dates. The date is no longer drilled in their head for the last year. And the candidates' positions and everything that have been drilled, they fought so hard for this. I don't know. That's just part of being an election. I mean, it really is a battle. It is strategy. It's not just clean, cut, and dry. I think the big question everyone has in their head is, after all these things have been shut down now, I mean, the initial shock of it is over, but people are starting to finally wonder, can you do this? You know, can you just, I guess so. I don't know. The question I ask is, are you going to go to the State House tomorrow and do something about this? Am I? No, I'm not going to do anything about this. So yes, the answer is yes, they can do this. All right. Well, let's move on from that. The official decision as of right now, polls are closed tomorrow. Don't go out and vote. Don't go out today, I should say. Don't go out and vote today. Polls are closed due to the chaotic announcement. Now, this could change. By the time I get this recorded, go to bed, upload this, and wake up in the morning. This could be breaking news, and we'll be right back here next week talking about this whole ordeal and the effects that it had on the community of Troy, Ohio, and the Miami County. So here we have, coming from Troy Daily News, to wrap things up, we've got some expenditures I'm going to talk about here from Miami County, Troy Daily News. All candidates, political action committees, political caucuses, and parties are required to register their pre-primary election campaign finance reports by March 5th. Pardon me real quick while I take a drink of my half water, half Germex mixture here, keeping me away from the coronavirus. Much better now. I feel like we could probably subvert this virus now for the next 3 weeks or so, as long as I keep fuel on that stuff. Final campaign finance reports must be filed by April 24th, detailing contributions and expenditures through April 17th. So obviously all those dates have been nailed, and now we've got the reports. We're going to brush through a couple of these because there's a lot of numbers and math and whatnot. You can easily read this on the Troy Daily News website if you really want to get a look at these numbers. There's only really one in here I want to get to. Citizens for Troy Schools. And we all know where this is going. The Treasurer reported that $30,395.31 total monetary contributions and $3,421.86 in expenditures. Expenditures included $3,370.50 for yard signs and stakes from Corey Graphics and $51.36 for levy cards from Western Ohio Graphics just down the road here. And in kind donation for the use of Unity National Bank's billboard was valued at $1,000. That's a pretty fair price for a billboard if they used it for a month or so, 2 months. I'm not sure how long they used it, but assuming they used it for about a month to 2 months, that's a pretty fair price for a billboard ad. Corporate contributions included $100 from Cardinal Bus Sales and Service, $1,000 from the Mercer Group Incorporated, $5,000 from that wasn't the one you thought it was. Dellinger and Sons Builders, $1,000 from Scott Scriven LLP, $2,000 from Bruins Realty Group, $1,000 from Medway Tool Corporation, $1,000 from Creative Labels Incorporation. Hey, we're reading these things. This is a good time to find out about local businesses in the area. This is a good advertisement for them right here. Some of these I haven't heard of. Some of these I'm familiar with. $1,000 from McGowan Brabender. I always get that one wrong. And here you go, $5,000 from the Troy Development Council, $5,000 from the Troy Area Chamber of Commerce, and then, of course, $1,000 from Coverman Staley Dickerson Insurance, which is not part of that story, to be clear, not part of this $5,000 story. So $5,000 from the Troy Development Council, $5,000 from the Troy Area Chamber of Commerce, and yeah, we've seen this floating around in the groups. We've seen this being reported. What had happened here is people are questioning the donation of $5,000 from the Troy Development Council. Now, there's been two sides to this with everything. A big part of this show is representing that there are two sides to these arguments here. I try to use my voice to be a vessel for the people, but unfortunately, opinion will be interjected, and that is why, again, we have the guarantee of the 15-minute segment or so, about 15 minutes, where you get 1 minute of guaranteed time, uninterrupted, to state your case and your side and get your voice out to the people. And, of course, the Troy, Ohio Citizens 2.0 group that you can join to immediately get your opinion out there. But the thing was, a lot of people thought at first this is taxpayer dollars. Well, the Troy Development Council, from what I can gather, does get taxpayer dollars. I think this does end up being taxpayer dollars at the end of the day. Troy Area Chamber of Commerce, $5,000 there. I want to focus in specifically on the Troy Development Council. So someone posted in a group, I feel like there is information missing from this report. Where are the financials for the Troy schools vote signs? That was the issue, is that the signs, they were purchasing signs with this money in favor of the vote, in favor of the new schools. Apologies for my unprofessionalism. I forgot to turn my phone notifications off. I've been feverishly sitting by it, waiting for notifications, so I've been keeping those on. Now, we got some clarity from William Lutz, a well-known figure here in the community. While there are very limited, and this is coming from him, a comment made on Facebook in one of these groups, while there are very limited expectations to campaign finance laws, if the individuals that were responsible for putting those signs up failed to put the name of the committee that is funding the effort on the sign and didn't file campaign finance reports, it appears this group may be not operating within the law. Continuation of this, I do not believe municipalities or townships or counties are legally allowed to donate to a levy for another entity. The only entity that I believe that is allowed to spend tax dollars on a levy effort are local ADAMHS boards. He says here, the Troy Development Council is an independent, nonprofit organization, I believe a 501c3. That's coming from me, the 501c3 comment, not part of this quote. Continuing on with the quote now, they have their own accounts, their own bylaws, their own board of directors, the decisions that the TDC makes, standing for Troy Development Council, are their own decisions. I know the city does not or does provide them funding to promote the city for economic development activities, which is a practice used by hundreds of cities. And just because something is practiced by a lot of cities, I'm speaking to you now, the listeners, does not make it right, but I digress. So moving on again with William Lutz's comment here. And they receive funds from multiple sources. I can't answer the question on why the superintendent is on the TDC. The TDC follows its own bylaws when putting individuals on its board. Of course, William Lutz here saying that he is running for the Republican Central Committee. It's only in my home precinct, which you aren't in, but I'm happy to help. Have a good evening. That's how he kind of helped shed some light on that. Now, there was another report. I lost it. I don't know where it's at. I really wanted it. Hopefully I can find it next week to maybe talk about this. Someone was spreading some information on the side of the Troy Development Council, on the side, airing on their side. So that's kind of been the issue. That's been a hot button topic is, should the Troy Development Council use $5,000, especially if that money is going to go to buying signs for a specific vote in favor of one? So let us know your thoughts at Beautiful Troy Show on Facebook. That's facebook.com// Beautiful Troy Show. If you want to get directly in contact with us, beautifultroyshow@gmail.com. That's beautifultroyshow@gmail.com. You can weigh in if you've got any information on this for us. You can always post it in Troy, Ohio Citizens 2.0 by joining the group, or again, sending it to beautifultroyshow@gmail.com, and I'll take a look at it, and maybe there's something I'm missing here that would give more light to the situation. So there you have it. That's the one that people have been really looking at. We've got the committee to elect Duchek for sheriff. Let's see here, $2,751.78 forwarded from last year's campaign. $711.77 in kind contributions, and $17,000, the typo here, $17,000, $5,000 is what it would read out, or $175,000, but no, it's $17,500 in outstanding loans owed by the committee. Contributions included $500 from Richard Gimmerlock, $1,000 from Stephen Lord, $100 from Mark Stevenson, $50 from Jana Parker, and $200 from Scott Alexander. In-kind donations included $399 from David Duchek for webpage, $62.77 from Wirtz Hardware for zip ties for signs, and $250 for election buttons and stickers from Creative Labels. I would like to point out here, I don't believe the Troy Development Council funded any of these. Committee to elect Paul Reese for sheriff. We got here Deputy Treasurer Denise Reese reported $970 total funds available, $970 in contributions, and $1,002.11 in expenditures, with $32.11 in outstanding debts. Contributions including $500 from Timothy Arnold, $70 from George or Jennifer Anstein. Ann Stein, maybe? Sorry, Ann Stein. Don't get your hopes up. It wasn't Jennifer Aniston. Let's see here. $400 from Mike Jackson. Expenditures included $675.60 for office supplies, $106.99 for computer program from Staples, $114.35 from U.S. Postal Service for stamps, $118.25 from Easterling Studios for photos, $96.24 from Walmart for a cell phone. I respect that. Paul Reese is about that track phone life. I get it. Used to have one. So there's some expenditure reports I had to highlight here. Ted Mercer, $0. And there's Westfall for commissioners in here as well. I just kind of wanted to highlight the three hot topic buttons: Troy Development Council, Duchek, and Reese. That's the reports there. You can read the rest of the reports at the Troy Daily News. They've got that up there for you. Got two little stories left here in the stack we're going to get around to close this thing out. I want to keep it between an hour and a half show. I know a lot of you people are busy in the city. A lot of the citizens don't have time to completely tune in. We like to make this friendly to listen in your car. You can get a nice inside peek if you go over to our Facebook page when we do the live shows. We've got video of the show up over there. What's happening behind the microphone that hangs from the desk. All right, finishing it off here, we got some announcements for the city, getting into some good news here, some less controversial stuff. Going to air it out here, air the show out, open the windows. It's spring cleaning for the show at this time in the show, and it's also Spring Neighborhood Cleanup Week. The city of Troy will hold its annual Spring Neighborhood Cleanup Week from April 13th to the 17th. Now, during this week, residents will be allowed to dispose of additional trash, and yard waste disposal rules will be changed to help residents clean up their homes and yards. Well, I shouldn't say this is completely without hot buttons. The rules are going to get changed a little bit on this. In this week, residents will be permitted to exceed the capacity of trash cart and place additional bagged household refuse for collection. Additional refuse must be placed out. That's very fancy of them. Refuse. You know, they could just say trash or like stuff you want to get rid of. No, the refuse can be kicked to the curb and will be collected there and does not need to be bundled and tied or placed in a biodegradable bag and all fancy for the trash guy. You can just throw it out there. Just throw it out there on the curb and be done with it. Get that out. Spring cleaning. I had to do a little bit of that here at the studio. It's just too much stuff piling up. I just got to get it out the door, get it taken out of here. Right, let's see. Moving on. As a new service this year, brush and yard waste rules will also be relaxed during cleanup week. I believe they did this during the tornado. If they didn't, that'd have been a rough one. That they're now doing it for spring cleanup week. But I believe those were relaxed a little bit for them. I did see a couple complaints across the community. Not a big deal. They handled that situation very well, although we are waiting for someone to do something about this building here and free up some parking spots down here. It's already a little bit tight, and this sidewalk closure, allegedly, I am not going to go out of my way to go around the street or around the back of the building to get through that particular section of town, allegedly. So, yeah. Moving on there. What do we got here? So the brush yard waste will be collected when placed to the curb. Items that are classified as recyclable should be placed in the recycling container for collection. In addition, residents are encouraged to engage in and promote spring cleanup in the neighborhoods. Again, the items that are collected should be of the type normally classified as household refuse and should be placed in trash bags for collection. So a little bit of relaxation on the rules there for you. If you want more information on this, call the Central Maintenance and Service Facility. I'll give you the number nice and slow here. In case you're doing something else, listening in the background, driving, we want you to be safe. 937-335-1914. That is 937-335-1914. That is the Central Maintenance and Service Facility. Also, if you want to read this for yourself, Troy Daily News is where you can find that. Last article here we got in the stack. A little bit of a light show. We're going to maybe try and pack some more things in there. Maybe not babble as much next week. Get a little bit more, I should say, hone in on exactly what we're going to be talking about next week. It was a little bit chaotic with the release of all of the closures for the polls. But this was kind of an establishment show. We wanted you to kind of get an idea of what's going to be going on here. And again, we're going to be introducing the call-in feature next week, so look forward to that. A father and daughter arrive at the Troy-Miami County Public Library on Saturday afternoon to find it was closed due to the coronavirus situation. And the Troy Daily News has a nice little picture of that up on their website. You can see it's a little bit snowy out. It's when we had that snow out of nowhere. It's our March snow for the year here in Ohio. They had a picture of that. I believe that's where that picture came from, of them standing in front of the library as it was closed now. Library's closed. No spread there. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of The Troy Show. Be sure to join us back here again next Monday at 7 p.m. We're doing our first live show and call-ins. The number for that, again, let me pull it up here. I haven't officially memorized it yet, as any good online radio host should do. The call-in line for that is 937, local number here, 552-3484. That's 552-3484. Make sure you put that 937 before it. I believe that was the announcement released earlier this week. You got to have that before it. 937-552, nice and slow, 3484. If you want to get directly in contact, maybe you're not a verbal person, you like to type a little bit, become a keyboard warrior at Beautiful Troy Show. That is beautifultroyshow@gmail.com, beautifultroyshow@gmail.com. Get in touch with us directly on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Beautiful Troy Show. If you want to join in with the conversation, you can't wait for the email to be answered. You can't wait for the phone line to be picked up. You can always go to facebook.com/groups/Troy, Ohio citizens to get involved there. Just ask to join. Anyone's welcome there to get their opinion out. It's a great place. Over 200 members strong there. And we are growing rapidly every day. We've got goals, and we have been hitting those goals. I'm excited to say of member growth, citizen growth. I don't really like to call them members. You're not really members of anything. I mean, you're members of a new movement in Troy, a political paradigm shift here But you're just finding your voice. Everyone's got to find their voice. Everyone's voice should be able to be heard. So that is Troy, Ohio Citizens 2.0 is the group there. Facebook.com/groups/Troy, Ohio Citizens to get involved in the action there and join all of your fellow citizens and growing here in the Miami County area as well to talk about the issues that matter to you. That's going to wrap it up. Again, I tried to lay it out best I could. You're just going to have to tune in again next week to get more of a sense of exactly how this show is going to be going. But we're going to have all of our shows up on Facebook.com. We'll have an announcement next week of where you can get the Audible forms of this. If you do want to take it along with you, or you got a busy office day here in the downtown or somewhere in the town of wherever you work, and you want to get involved and informed as to what's going on, and you want it put to Audible form, that's really the goal of the show. We're just putting these things to Audible form for you and being a vessel for your voice. And we want to make that a very important staple of this show and the network of groups and shows that we're going to have here for the Troy, Ohio Citizens. Thanks so much for tuning in this week. We will catch you back here Monday at 7 p.m. We're going to be going live next week, assuming Mike DeWine doesn't come out and say that we need to close all humble podcast studios. Any podcast studios with a population of one or more has to close down. We will be here live from the downtown here at the Troy Show. Thanks so much again for checking us out. Tell a friend about it if you think they're interested or they want some Audible stuff. If anything I've talked about here is interesting or fascinating to you, drop us an email, beautifultroyshow@gmail.com. We'll see you next week, Monday, 7 p.m. Be here.